My name is John Andrews, and tonight I'm going to be talking about how Mercy Otis Warren became a famous writer and inspirational figure before, during, and after the American Revolution. During this clip, I'm going to focus on the five W's, so the who, what, when, where, why, it's going to be the best way to explain how she became to be and who she was. Before I start, I want to apologize. I'm a little under the weather right now, so just bear with me as we go through this. In preparing for this, I utilized several open source networks as well as the Jerry Falwell Library. I found many articles and books concerning Mercy Otis Warren. Found plenty of books to talk about her work and how her life became to be an influential writer toward the person she is today. Some of the online sources, I found an article through the JFL library. So Ellen Hunt Botting's article, Women Writing War, Mercy Otis Warren, and Hannah Mather Crocker on the American Revolution. I found a book, a collection of Warren's letters that were edited in 2009 by Jeffrey Richards and Sharon Harris, titled Mercy Otis Warren. And then I found an article just on the open source net, Revolutionary War Net, by Pamela Klein and Paul Pavo, titled Mercy Otis Warren. So now everybody has some references. Let's get going. So Mercy Otis Warren is best known as a literary genius who wrote and published many influential letters, discussions, and plays that influenced the patriot cause in America and was overwhelmingly anti-British in her rhetoric. Warren was born in Boston, Massachusetts in 1728 to one of the five prominent families there in Boston at the time. She became married to James Warren in 1758, and together they had five boys. The reason that's important is because she never intended to become a famous person. That was not her life's work, if you will. It was mainly to be a mother and a good wife. Both James and Mercy Warren could trace their history back to descendants of theirs who came over on the Mayflower, which, in my opinion, kind of made them American aristocracy unofficially. And then one could argue that it was in her DNA to rise to the occasion and stand up for what she believed in, based off the fact that both she and her husband came from such a proud lineage of Americans. She had no formal education, which was common in that time for women, but her father did allow her to attend some tutor classes with her brothers, and that's where she kind of picked up the reading and writing bit. The most important figure in all of this was her older brother, James Otis, who took an extreme interest in her literary endeavors and helped helped perfect her skills and techniques for writing. Her husband, James Warren, was also a prominent figure in the Patriot movement, and he inspired Mercy to write during the Revolution. He was heavily involved in the political side of the Revolution, though he did fight at Bunker Hill. But his main focus was the political side, so he served as president of the Massachusetts House of Representatives, and then later on as the Speaker of the House, and then president of the Massachusetts Provincial Congress. So shortly after Mercy and James' last son was born in 1766, the British influence at that time, especially in Boston, was very negative with all the taxes and tariffs they were imposing on the colonists. And then in the mid-1760s, she began to write several letters and plays that were published both locally and carried across the colony then of Massachusetts, that promoted a strong patriot zeal within the colony. Some of her most famous work could be found beginning in the 1770s. So in 1772, she published the Adulator, which was a popular column that was directed against the pro-Tory governor of Massachusetts at the time, Thomas Hutchison, and it also kind of predicted the war itself. And then during this time, due to the severe penalties of her being found out, if it was her writing these letters and plays and whatnot, the British would impose severe punishment. So she never signed or took credit for any of her work publicly till well after the war was over in 1790. Her writing itself during the war stirred people into action, which was sometimes hostile against British officials, especially against Governor Hutchison. And during this time, right as the war was about to really get kicked off, she became nervous that maybe she had started something more than what she meant. She never meant to anybody to really become harm. She just meant for the light to be seen, if you will, within other Americans. So it was a three-person effort, really. Her husband, her brother, and then Abigail Adams, who was a close family friend and friend of hers, who was also another influential woman during this time period, to cause her, or they influenced her to continue to keep writing for the cause of American freedom. So after the war, in her later years, she was the first person, either man or woman, to write a complete history of the American Revolution. The book was titled "The History of the Rise, Progress, and Termination of the American Revolution," which was released in 1805. This was her last book to be written, and it had such an impact that Thomas Jefferson, who was the president at the time, pre-ordered copies for himself and all of his cabinet members there in the White House, so they could have the first edition, if you will, to reading that. That's how well thought of she was. She died in October of 1814, and the legacy she left is literally one for the record books. Her influence on inspiring people to join the revolutionary cause was a major factor during the war, and it ensured America maintain its sense of purpose to survive the revolution and stay the land of the free and the home of the brave. So hope you enjoyed this post. Sorry it went a little long, but curious to hear what your feedback is. Thanks.